What is going on, guys? Dave from Wake Up It's Football with the Red Zone Blitz, alongside of Ezra from Idiot Sports Talk. Ezra, another week of football, watching the Chiefs and the Broncos. How's it going?
As a fan, not well. My Jets got crushed by the Bills, but overall, goodness, and I think it feels good to talk about football after some football. How about that, David? Does that feel good?
Yes, it does. That feels awesome. Actually, the game is still going on right now, but we thought maybe we just kick-start it out a little bit early. The topic for tonight, for those who are just tuning in, is going to be, how did your team perform today, and what's a positive and a negative that you can take away from their performance? Throw those down in the comments below. We will be getting to those throughout the night. And I just had a thought on my mind, and I just went. So I don't know what I was about to say, but can't really address some of the stuff we normally do in the what are the man? I always forget
we
what
do
they're called.
power we do the power rank.
Power rankings. We can't do those. Those aren't out yet. But what we will be doing tonight, obviously going over all the matchups for Week 11 that just happened today.
I have an idea. How about this?
Go ahead.
We can still talk about power rankings, but we can predict the power rankings. That sounds like a cool idea, right?
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Based on today's results, we go from last week's list and see what changes is going to happen or what we believe should happen in ESPN Top 10 rankings.
So I think what would happen is we'd have to look at the power rankings from last week and then work off of those and kind of realign the rankings. Right now I'm putting up the link on Facebook so we can get some people to join us from there as well, so just bear with me. But we're going to get right into all the matchups, all the craziness that happened today, because when I was picking the games for this week, you kind of feel confident when you pick. I know I wouldn't say confident, but you just kind of really don't care as much because you kind of came out and said that before. For me, I'm usually confident with the picks that I make, and they really didn't turn out too well. So we'll get to those. Just putting up the link right now. Ezra, I was watching a little bit of your Jets today. Sheldon Richardson was looking pretty good. D. Milner,
oh man,
bit rough.
A bit rough. A bit rough. I've tweeted earlier today. Okay, I said this plenty of times. He's been worthless this year. At the first touchdown that the Jets gave, Emmanuel was under pressure. EJ just threw it up, and the wide receiver that Miller was covering just stopped while Miller kept on running, and this guy caught it with 5 yards of open space and just walked in for a touchdown. This guy, I know it would take a couple more years of complete worthlessness to equal the amount of crap that Vernon Golston was in this league, but he's off to an amazing start. You're like, Peyton Manning's off to this historic touchdown mark. Dean Miller is off to this historic of complete garbage right now as the 9th overall pick. And I'm wearing my Revis jersey, okay, because I surely miss this man, because Milner is doing absolutely nothing to make us forget as Jets fans. And he said he was going to be as good or try to be as good, which would be stupid if I actually would have believed that, but he's doing nothing. He's doing nothing to replace that.
The only thing when I saw him get beat in that coverage where I can't remember who the receiver was for the Buffalo Bills, but I thought that Milner probably thought that the ball was going to get thrown deeper and the ball would not be underthrown by EJ Manuel. So he just kind of kept running. Left the guy wide open. He didn't track back. And when he tried to, he slipped. So I'm not going to, just for that play, I'm not going to completely put it on him 100%, but there's just, I don't know. He's not looking too hot. Sheldon, on the other hand, he's making plays, showing why he could be Defensive Rookie of the Year.
I don't think I want to give anybody in the – well, you know what? The Jets' defense doesn't deserve a huge
And
bashing
Muhammad
today.
Wilkerson.
Okay. Oh, Milkerson is a top three defensive lineman in football. I
I
think
don't know. I don't know about top
my
three.
my boy's a beast. Okay. Pass rushing, running, stopping the run. This man, I believe he's top three. If people want to say he's not, or he's a top five, top 10, I accept that. But he doesn't have the 20 sacks to make him a hot, sexy name. He doesn't have that. But you don't need that to be a force. Look at Justin Smith with the 49ers. He doesn't put up sexy numbers, but he is the man on that defensive line. So I think he's in that mold. He's in that league with Justin Smith.
The two players on the interior defensive line for the Jets, I think, could be a bit underrated in that tandem at D tackle. In Wilkerson and Sheldon Richardson. They might start being talked about a little bit more after this season, because actually I think right now they're actually putting up pretty decent numbers for being such young players. So that could be a tandem, that could be a duo in New York that teams are going to have to start watching out for. Um, and what happened to I think he plays DN for the Jets. I don't know. I haven't really heard too much about him.
Quentin Coples,
Quentin Coples.
he's doing okay. He's not putting up, once again, sexy numbers, but he's growing more with his consistency. I don't see myself yelling at the TV like where is he? He doesn't seem like he's not there consistent enough, but he's getting there. I think he'll be a solid DN for years to come. I don't think he'll ever put up the 15, 16 sacks, but he's going to be a solid player for a long time.
Oh, well, I mean, since we're on the subject and it's a topic for tonight, the topic being, what did you think of your team's performance? What's one positive? What's one negative you can take away from your team's performance today against the Bills? Go ahead. Let's hear yours as we get to the people watching out there later tonight.
Positive, it's hard to find one right now. Maybe when the game was over, that's a positive. But in all seriousness, maybe, man, it was all around crap show. Chris Ivory, even though he was held in check until a 70-yard run he had, but this is 3 straight games now that he's had over 90 yards rushing, and he's starting to get that momentum. He's starting to get a feel for that offensive line, and the running game is being very consistent now. I know he was checked, like I said, he was in check, but he broke one. We usually doesn't happen for the Jets. We don't break big plays in a running game like that, so that's a positive. Negative, I've given plenty of praise right here on Red Zone Blitz and support, but Geno Smith, I'm tired of hearing he's a rookie. He's going to make rookie mistakes and this and that. There's growing pains. I understand that, but this is another 4-turnover game. It's time to it's time to grow. To me, you stop having 4. Have 2 turnovers, Geno. All right? He had no confidence. It's like when this guy has no confidence or he's not feeling it, which happens multiple times already in this season, he's an absolute disaster. 4 turnovers. We got rid of Mark Sanchez because we didn't want to have 30-plus turnovers in a year, and this guy's on a pace to go over 35 turnovers this year. So I would like to see some progression and cut down the turnovers. I'm not saying don't be as aggressive, but make smarter decisions. And I'm getting a little heated with the excuses people are giving him.
For those people who don't normally watch all the games, like you'll see them ask, Ezra, what about Ed Reed? How come he's not helping this team out? How come they didn't win? If you don't watch the game, you don't necessarily know what exactly goes on. And all the points the Bills scored, they were not all offensive points. There were many times where Geno Smith, like you mentioned, had 4 turnovers. Was there not a fumble recovery or a pick six as one of those? I didn't watch the.
He threw a pick six because I guess he's watching a lot of Tabor Schwab this year. I don't know. That's one of his idols. It seems like he's thrown a pick six. He's fumbled the ball, I believe twice today. It was just I had towards the fourth quarter. I had to turn away until I saw Matt Sims come in, and he short. As soon as he came in, he scored a quick 7 points. I don't know if the Bills, got lax after they said, oh, they put in the backup. We got this game wrapped up, but he showed poise. He led the offense, and it was something refreshing to see after seeing Geno just, here you go, let's give the game away, and that's what he did.
Well, that was Ezra's one positive and one negative from his Jets team today. I want to know, or we want to know, your guys' positive and negative for your team's performance today, whether they won or lost. And you guys don't be afraid to go a little bit into detail so we can have some conversation on that subject, on that team. Also, we will be getting to all of the matchups that went on today, so we might double dip in some departments. So feel free to throw down your comments, concerns, questions all in the FanDuel comment box below. Speaking of FanDuel.com, I'm going to have to put that link. I'm not able to put the link down there for you guys because YouTube is not allowing me to click on my live event and edit my video and all that stuff, because you already know Google Plus is really cool, and YouTube has to connect to everything Google Plus does. So let's get to football. One of the first games today. A game that was supposed to be played in about, 3 hours. Usually a football game is played in 3 hours. It was probably a 5.5 hour game because of the weather in Chicago that ended with the Bears beating the Ravens 23-20 in overtime. Very sloppy, very ugly game. You had a team or two teams that had almost a 2-hour break. You had Ray Rice tweeting and taking pictures and video chatting with his son. Things you don't normally see in an NFL game happen today. They were under a tornado warning, I believe it was, in Chicago, so a very sloppy game there. Jay Cutler, not under center. Your fantasy quarterback, your guy, your NFC team is now 6-4, Ezra, as they defeat the defending Super Bowl champs. Did you happen to catch any highlights, any thoughts, anything on this game particularly?
I didn't really watch much of the game, but I know the Ravens got up to a fast start. Ray Rice scored a touchdown. I know they had at least a 10-point lead after the first quarter. And the Bears make a comeback without their starting QB. So, and you got to give some credit to the I can't even pronounce the word, resiliency of the Bears and Matt Forte. You just got to give them credit. They came back and they won a big game, especially with your Packers losing to the Giants this week. So the Bears once again win without their starting QB, and that's just big for Mark Trestman.
That is pretty big. He's been looking pretty solid as their backup there in Chicago. He's been helping that offense stay in games. And then you have a weapon in Matt Forte who was able to turn it up late in the game to help the Bears get into overtime. One thing that needs to be addressed that too many people don't talk about is without the weather alone in Chicago, the field is pretty bad. With the weather out there in Chicago, with all the rain and it's absolutely terrible. Honestly, it could be one of the worst fields in the NFL. That and FedEx Field that the Washington Redskins play on. I don't know why this kind of bugs me, but there's so many players that can get injuries from footing problems and from just getting their feet stuck in the mud or whatever it may be, that I think the NFL needs to look into, I don't know, talking with the Chicago Bears organization and kind of fixing up their field or changing up something about their field. Just it's pretty bad.
Do you think they should have canceled today's game?
No, you can't cancel games like that. When would you make it up?
Wait, maybe on tomorrow or Tuesday. I don't know. Or maybe not. Yeah, you can do it on Tuesday. If you've got that may be tough. do it on a
I mean,
Tuesday.
and you have the players warm up and everybody's ready. Everyone's on schedule. NFL teams, they just every Sunday, they have
No, I
a.
understand. I understand why they didn't do it, but I was just asking because you was concerned about injuries in the field. It's already a mess, and with this weather, I was just wondering, as commissioner, because I know me and you disagree when it comes to this commissioner stuff. If you would have canceled today's game,
Yeah, I don't know if you could do that. I don't know if you could cancel. I don't know.
it's
I
been
mean,
done
it
before.
would.
They've done canceled games before, and they made it up the next day or etc.
Was it because
So,
of weather?
it could. I think one time weather, other national tragedies or stuff like that. So.
All right, let's move on from the Chicago Bears.
No, you can't talk because your Packers lost.
Well, I mean, I could talk about my positives and negatives right now with the Green Bay Packers, but I'll wait till we get to that matchup because what I'm trying to do is go in order um, of when the games happen. All the noon games first, but they don't really they don't really have those it's kind of all over the place right now. Um, we already did Buffalo. We already did the Jets. We kind of got your positive and negatives there. Cincinnati at Cleveland. Cleveland actually got off to wasn't it a 14-0 lead, I believe it was. But Cincinnati came back. Very strong defensive performance by them. 41-20 was the final score in Cincinnati. The biggest surprise for me when I was looking over stats and all that stuff, A.J. Green, 2 receptions for 7 yards all game. I don't know. I didn't watch the game. I didn't really catch too much of the game, but uh, I know he was shadowed by Joe Hayden. I
Who
don't
had
know if
two
he necessarily.
interceptions?
He did have 2 interceptions. Those are that's why the Browns were able to go up early on the Bengals. Was because of those first 2 turnovers, and Dalton had a very bad start to that game. But I don't necessarily know if it was Joe Hayden who shut A.J. Green down, because I didn't catch the game again. But 2 receptions for 7 yards to your number. I'm not even gonna call him the number 1 receiver of the Bengals. I'm gonna say the best, or no, that's Calvin Johnson, the second best receiver in the NFL. 2 receptions, 7 yards. Again, that's pathetic. That's awful. You can't do that. You
As
have to
long as
target him a
you,
little bit more.
as long as they win, okay, maybe the double coverage that he was receiving, it opened up the field for other guys. When you're a great player, even if you don't have impact statistically, you still have an impact on the game because you're taking away extra defenders' assignments to concentrate on you, and that opened up they scored 40 something points. Okay, I know that has something to do with their defense, but they put up points because A.J. Green is such a weapon and it opens up the field. It's part of the game plan. Your guy doesn't have to always have big numbers for your offense to roll.
I I would agree, and partially due because they did win the game, but it was more of a defensive performance. They had 2 defensive touchdowns. I think it was 2 defensive touchdowns, 3 interceptions, a fumble recovery, 4 sacks. I think they also had either a field goal block or an extra point block, and they only
Whoever
allowed
had
20 points.
Cincinnati's defense in their fantasy leagues had a fun time. Okay, I had Cleveland's defense in I think 2 of my leagues.
I had the Bengals defense in 2 out of the 3 of my leagues, and it paid off. They looked pretty nice today. I'm not gonna lie. That's why I just read off all their numbers right now from my fantasy team, which I just won in my league, 87-86, low scoring, but I won by a point.
I
So
had some huge scoring games. Listen, I scored 133 points, and the other guy scored 171 points. We were the 2 highest scoring teams, and I had to face them.
and this was on our.
This one is on the YouTube league, and I needed that win bad, and I won. Oh my god! And in another league, my Idiot Sports Talk league, I faced the other highest scorer of the league. He had 176 points. I had 104.
Are you looking?
So
If you're looking at the leaderboard, or not the leaderboards, if you're looking at the scoreboards for all the teams, I'm pretty sure I put up a lot of points in that league as well. As is like around 125, 130.
Matt,
So,
matter of fact, this matchup is against I think this one's against James Carter TV, who I beat earlier this year. He had Robert Griffin, he had Calvin Johnson, he has Chris Johnson. Um, this one says A. Brown. I don't know which A. Brown is this. And I don't think Antonio Brown, who had a big game. So he had a bunch of players that just had great days today, and I got killed. And I had Ben Roethlisberger, who had a monster day. He had 4 touchdowns. Okay, the Steelers won. They beat the Detroit Lions 37-27. He had almost near 50 points. When you have a performance like that in fantasy football by a player, you usually win, and I lost. It just shows how many guys this guy had.
I want to talk about that game. I want to talk about the Lions and the Steelers. It was late in the fourth quarter, and I have to remember what the score was exactly because it definitely matters. I want to say the score was 27-23. And oh man, who's their head coach? God. I can't stand their head coach for the Lions, but is it Mike Schwartz?
No, Jim.
Jim Schwartz. Jim Schwartz decides instead of kicking the field goal, he has his punter try to run up the field with a fake field goal attempt. His punter gets smothered, fumbles the ball, and the Steelers recover. Now this was deep in Steeler territory. The Steelers had to go, I don't know, 85, 90 yards to even get a touchdown. But two things here before we get to what happened with the Steelers drive. You kick the field goal, you're up by 7, meaning it would have been 30-23. The Lions are kind of have a bit of a cushion there. You have to have the Steelers score a touchdown on you to tie the game. Well, you don't do that. The score is still 27-23, and guess what the Steelers do? They rally all the way down the field, and they score a touchdown. Score is now 30-27. Steelers on top, and they ended out the game 37-27 to win that game. So they left some points on the board there in Detroit, or I should say in Pittsburgh, because that's where the game was played. But some of the play calling that some of these teams do just leaves you scratching your head sometimes. What are these guys thinking? Why are you getting paid millions of dollars to make bonehead calls that cost your team points, and sometimes it could cost your team the game? Jim Schwartz, I don't necessarily want to say it cost you the game because the Steelers were able to put up 37 when that field goal would have put you at 30, but some of those points were scored very late in the game. I think that, it could have changed the dynamic of how some of the things went, some of the play calling and things like that. So I'm gonna say obviously it's not my team, but for the Lions, the negative of that game had to have been just that single play call and where that punter got smothered and coughed up the ball.
Typically I don't have a problem when I think it's just the timing when coaches try these trick plays or being aggressive or like an onside kick or stuff like just the time. If I believe your team needs a spark, that's when you try to do stuff like this. But when your offense is doing pretty well and Calvin Johnson's destroying the Steelers secondary, I think I would have went with the points there with the field goal and just continue with the game. But let's say the score was, people might even get on me even worse. This might sound even stupider because let's say if it was a tight game, my offense is struggling and I'm in field goal range. People, well, if your offense is struggling, you should go for the field goal. No, I think in that moment I would not have a problem with my coach trying something different just to try to get that momentum on their side. It might be it's a huge gamble. I agree with you. It's a huge risk, but I like it sometimes. But I just don't like the timing of it when some coaches do it.
Yeah, and that's the thing that was questioned is the timing. I wasn't a fan of that call. And you know what? at the same time, I was a fan of that call because the Packers need the Lions to lose in order for the Packers to kind of stay in contention. The Bears won. Right now, the NFC North is sitting at the Bears and Lions are at 6-4 or 6-5? Packers are now at 5-5, so it would be 6-4. Those two teams. Packers are at 5-5, and while I'm on the topic, I'll get to my positives and negatives. The Packers lost to the Giants today, 27-13, in New York. And one positive for today's game would have to be, and this is off the top of my head, Scott Tolzien threw for over 300 yards. I know he threw for 3 interceptions, but here's the positive. I'm pretty sure the Green Bay Packers just found their backup quarterback. For the last 2 years, they've been looking, kind of searching, seeing what they can scrounge up. Graham Harrell didn't work. B.J. Coleman, who they drafted in the 7th round, didn't work. They let both those guys go. They bring in Vince Young in preseason. He didn't work. Seneca Wallace was kind of that guy who Ted Thompson drafted in Seattle back in 2004, so he had some familiarity with him. So he brings him in as a backup. He pulls his groin in the first drive of last week's game. We might have found our quarterback in Green Bay to back up Aaron Rodgers, being Scott Tolzien. You throw for over 300 yards in a game, you're probably doing something right. I know you had 3 interceptions, but there was still some production there. Definitely the disappointing part of that game was the secondary. Time after time and play after play, the secondary could not stop Eli Manning throwing to wide open receivers. The zone coverages that the Packers are playing right now are not working. I would much rather see the Packers play like a man-to-man coverage, and when someone gets beat, that's the person who gets beat. It's not, he was supposed to be in this zone, I was supposed to be this way, and everyone's pointing fingers. And I don't know what it is about this defense. I don't know if they're smart enough to play zone because they're just leaving guys wide open, and opposing receivers are exploiting the holes that the Packers defense is really just supplying them with. So that's my positive and negative taken away from the Packers game today. It's going to be a tough road ahead for them to try and even make the playoffs. But if they win the next game, if they go 1-1 in the next 2 games, they'll be 6-6. Hopefully Aaron Rodgers can come back at that point, and if they go on a 4-game winning streak, that'll put them at 10-6. But I think that's the best case scenario for the Green Bay Packers at this point.
I saw the game. I saw the Giants and Packers, and I've seen they had a big play. They had about 5 or 6 big passing plays over 25 yards, and by the 4th one, they only had 6 points. I couldn't believe it. They had big time plays. I think I posted. I was like, I've never seen so many big plays and did not result or translate to points. It only translated to 6 points. So they didn't take advantage of the situations they were in today. And if I was a Packers fan, that would have been a big negative to me. You guys were in that attack and scoring zone, and you didn't. You didn't put points on the board, and you needed this game. This was the game. A 3-6 team. Your quarterback's injured. This is the game you need to take advantage, and they had chances, and they blew it. I was disappointed in your Packers, man. If we're doing biggest losers and winners for this week, your Packers are my biggest losers right now.
And I mean, this is how it feels. This is what I've kind of told some of my friends who are Packer fans. This is how it feels to be about 25 other teams, being fans of those teams in the NFL, to not have an elite quarterback or a very good quarterbacking your team. This is how it feels.
This is how it feels to be a Jets fan. Just say it. Just say it.
I'm not going to say Jets. I'm going to say 25 other teams who don't have good quarterbacks or have good, decent, whatever.
They have good quarterbacks, and they don't have an elite quarterback.
That's what I mean. What I'm saying is, this is how it feels to not have good quarterback play for once in a very long time, and
It seems like
it
forever
sucks.
with Packers. It seems like I don't.
Yeah.
The Packers, I don't know who's the. That could be a trivia question. Who was the last bad Green Bay Packer quarterback?
I mean, besides the
The
whole thing that
spot
happened this year,
starters, yeah. Besides the spot backups,
besides Flynn and who started a couple seasons ago for a game or two,
and he
you
had
got
great games, so you can't
he
even
did.
count Flynn.
Okay, I'm saying besides him and Rodgers and Favre, before Favre, you probably have no idea who the quarterback
I
was.
have no idea who the quarterback was before Favre.
And not too many. No, I don't think not too many people besides Packer fans here know who it was. But his name was Don Mikowski. That was his name.
He sounds like a second baseman for the Minnesota Twins. Don Mikowski with a single up the middle.
Yeah, he had a. He looked like he could be something too, but Brett Favre took over for him, and that was that. So, again, I just threw out my positive and negative for today's game of the Green Bay Packers and the New York Giants. For my Green Bay Packers, main topic of tonight for you guys. Throw down in the FanDuel comment box below what the positive and what the negative was for your team today, win or lose, and what any other thoughts that you might have. I'm refreshing the comments. I'm seeing a lot of regulars here: Wookie Collin, 18 Lockhart, New York Knicks fly high. So I appreciate the comments coming in. We will get to your guys' comments in a second. We will tackle one more matchup that went down today. Ezra, what do you want to talk about, man? You want to talk about some Eagles and Redskins?
I want to go to a match. I want to say, Giants fans are feeling good. 0-6. They're 4-6 now. 4-game winning streak, and Eli Manning is still playing like crap. He didn't look particularly sharp to me. And so you got to be feeling good if you're a Giants fan. You're 1 game back in the loss column, and your quarterback's not playing well, and you started the season 0-6. You got to feel fantastic right now. That's all I want to say about the Giants.
2 games behind. They're 2 games behind the Eagles right now.
The Eagles, through first place of the NFC East. Eagles.
With Nick Foles.
Franchise quarterback.
That division is.
Yeah. It's been like I said, nobody wants to win this division. It seems like it's and nobody wants it. Well, the Cowboys definitely don't want it because they've been in the division lead all year long, and it seems they're trying their best. You know what? This is not very prestigious. We don't want this.
Okay. I'm glad you just mentioned the Cowboys because I sent you an image the other day. The Dallas Cowboys, fellas, 5-5 this season, and they had a bye week this week. They're 17-17 under Jason Garrett, and they're 133 since 1997. And to add on to that, the Cowboys have had 1 playoff win in the last 15 years, Ezra. 1. You want to know how many the Jaguars have had in the last 15 years?
5.
3.
Okay, I was close.
You're close. But the point is this. Something is not going on. I can't talk because the Cowboys are just a very average team. I don't know what it is about the Cowboys, and they're 137 or whatever it was in the last 15 years. With some of these records that they had a couple of, 2009? I think they went 13-3. They had some pretty solid records over the last couple of years. Now, I'm not gonna say the last couple of years. Last couple of years, it's been 8-8, 8-8, and 6-10, I believe. But before those seasons, they had 13-3 things along those lines. The Cowboys, to me, I don't know, man. You can keep up. I'm not gonna talk about Tony Romo. I'm not gonna mention Tony Romo. I think this goes beyond Tony Romo. I think this goes. I think you have to point the finger at Jerry Jones. I think you have to point the finger at Jerry Jones. I think, to be honest. Um, Jason Garrett, I think he's got to go.
I agree with you there.
Monty Kiffin, first season there, it's too early to speculate on what needs to happen to him. But there needs to be some big moves made in that organization, and not just the players. We're not talking about players who need to be traded or released. We're talking about management. But that's my opinion. I don't know.
The only way you're getting a new voice in there is via death by Jerry Jones, which we don't wish for, okay? Or they hire a big-time coach, John Gruden, Bill Cowher. I think we spoke about this already. All right. But you know what? I want to say this. A lot of people get on the Cowboys and laugh at the Cowboys, and because they have a huge fan base. They're the quote-unquote America's team and stuff like that. But we need to stop putting the Cowboys in such a pedestal. All right? They're, as what you said, 133 and 133 since 97, whatever the record you said. There's plenty of other teams that probably have a worse record and stuff like that, but it's not really talked about. It's not really put on a pedestal or anything like that. Cowboys, yeah, they've been struggling, but it is what it is. And honestly, I'm no Cowboys hater. I'm no Cowboys lover. I don't care about Jerry Jones and stuff like that. But to get it corrected, he needs to hire someone that he believes he can relieve some of that personnel decisions and power to.
And the thing is, it seems like the Cowboys are a team that always have the talent to make a deep playoff push.
But shouldn't that be a credit to Jerry Jones? Because if people believe the Cowboys have a lot of talent and they should compete for more than a playoff spot, they should be a playoff contender every single year. They should be in there and be talked about with the elite based off their talent alone. Jerry Jones is a pretty good, scout then, right? He deserves some credit.
It's not just Jerry Jones.
I know it's not just. I'm not, but he's the ones making the final decision. Like Jerry Reese, Bill Belichick, and all these other guys. They're not alone, but you don't hear the scouts' names or anything like that. It's a team effort. So this team has talent. Let's give Jerry Jones the credit then, if you believe the team has talent. So let's stop slamming him so much. Yeah, I don't agree with a lot of the moves he's done, but I don't kill Jerry Jones as much as other people do. Maybe because I'm not a Cowboys fan. I know Cowboys fans slam him left and right.
The question that I think you'd have to raise that I don't think anyone has the answer to is, if you have all this talent, why aren't you winning? What is going wrong for you not to win football games and for you to be 500 over the last 15 seasons? I don't know. I mean, again, we're not doing another Tony Romo conversation, but for whatever reason, the Cowboys just one playoff win over the last 15 seasons is not something that you can say you can't label a franchise as a successful franchise with one playoff win.
In recent history, they're not a successful franchise.
I understand. Yes, and they're a team that has many Super Bowls. Was it 4 or 5 or something like that?
Let's not go off of Reese, because you know who's still a successful franchise, and they've been abysmal for the last 10 years.
The Raiders.
Yeah. Okay.
I know. And to me, this is how I think about all football teams. Every year, obviously, you're playing to win the Super Bowl. But the way I judge franchises is off of how many Super Bowls you win. It's a race. How many more Super Bowl championships can you have?
I don't believe so. I'm not like that. I know.
I
I know
know
it's
every
kind of cool. I
year.
know that the judges, you know, that's the ultimate goal. And I know that's if you have multiple, but I like consistency. I that sounds pretty. I was about to say something really. That's just called idiot sports talk. I was about to say, would you rather have 3 titles in 20 years or 1 title with, well, let's say 3 titles in 20 years? It just sounds stupid. Forget it. I would just lose this so bad if I even mention what's in my head. This is just. I was gonna say, do you want 3 titles in 20 years with like 6 playoff appearances, or 1 title in 20 years with 16 playoff appearances?
You want the 3 titles. You want the 3 titles.
I don't know.
What?
Like I said, I know it sounds, but out of 20 years, 14 of them. Okay, but I'm talking about the 3 title team. 14 of them, your team did not make the playoffs. Okay, that's a long time in a 20-year span. I understand when you get good, you win that championship and it lasts for a couple years. I know people can say that, but if you're a model of consistency, you look forward to your team being in the playoffs because because they have that strong consistency, they have that chance. I like that because you're excited about your team a lot of those years. You feel good about those. But remember, this is all about hindsight.
You know
So
who you just described? And I know it's not over a span of 20 years. It's more like, yeah, well, when did Peyton Manning come into the league? 98? This is about a 15-year span. You just described the Colts.
you know, but there's no other team. Who would you compare the Colts?
The Giants. Except they have 2 Super Bowls.
They have 2 Super Bowls
Or
in a much
or
shorter,
the
in a shorter
Steelers
span,
maybe.
and they've been to the playoffs a lot of times too.
I don't know, man. I would rather have the championships. Because there's you can go to the playoffs every year, but if you're not winning the
How
Super
about
Bowl,
this? Here we go. The Colts. You just said Peyton Manning, the Colts, or would you rather be the Cowboys? Because you
why
had
the
the Cowboys
Cowboys?
that won 3 Super Bowls in the 90s.
Yeah, how many years ago was that now?
Oh, that's
20? About
about
20?
20. 20. Or the Colts. You see how perception changes, right? Think about that. Oh man, that's easy thinking. That felt good. Cowboys, they have their 90s thinking this and that, but now they're a joke. Okay, people laugh at them,
Well, here's the
and
thing then. Okay. 20-year span, Cowboys win 3 Super Bowls, but in the last 15 years, they've only won 1 playoff game.
exactly.
Meaning,
They've been, like I said, a lot of the time, like in my example, you're bad, but when you were good, you won a championship, or you want that consistency. Peyton Manning, as a Colts fan, you felt like you were in it. The division's good. We got it wrapped up. We'll be in that playoff picture. It hasn't worked out. You lost to a lot of champions. Peyton Manning lost to, if you can go into his playoff record, he must have lost to 4 champions.
I wouldn't. I'd have to go through
He
that
lost to the
and
champion last year. He lost to Tom Brady a couple times in the playoffs. He's lost to the Steelers, who won the championships. He's lost to the champions. People kill Peyton Manning for not having success in the playoffs, but this man has lost to the champion plenty of times. I'm just going on defending Peyton Manning, but I don't know. I like consistency. I'm just saying. I think those are 2 good examples. So guys in the comment box, if you want, you can answer that
I'm
question.
taking the 3. That's a good question. We'll ask that throughout the
Would you
night.
want to be the Cowboys in the last 20 years, or the
We
Colts, the last 20 years?
we have to put the 3 Super Bowls in there,
Of course.
or the 1 Super Bowl. So, I'm still taking the 3 Super Bowls. I still look at it as how success.
I understand.
It's the all-time argument. When you want to sit there and just completely destroy someone, like an Eagles fan, just putting that out there, because the Eagles haven't won a Super Bowl. if an Eagles fan is talking a lot of trash to you, and you're like, that's cool, that's fine, but my team has 4 Super Bowl championships. How many Super Bowl championships does your team have? They have no answer for that.
But I think it depends a lot because I could talk smack. If you're, well, how old are you, David? 20?
21, almost 22.
21. Okay, if you're a Cowboys fan, oh, you won 3 Super Bowls. That's great. You were 4 years old, okay, when all those championships was wrapped up. You didn't get to enjoy it. The only time you got to watch those championships is on DVD Classics or whatever, or ESPN Classics. So don't be talking smack to me. Like people talk about, like, oh, I'm a suffering Jets fan. Yeah. So, well, you guys won a Super Bowl in 1916. Dude, I wasn't born until 20 years after. What are you talking about?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I wasn't there for Joe Namath and Don Maynard catching the hell do I care they won in 69? I'm suffering today. I'm watching Geno Smith 4 turnovers. Mark Sanchez. And Geno Smith went full Mark Sanchez, and everyone knows you don't go full Mark Sanchez.
And Mark Sanchez is on the bench, so let's get to some of your guys' comments. Again, question of the night in the FanDuel comment box is, how did your team perform today? What was one positive, one negative you can take away? And we have another question for you now. Would you rather be a fan of a franchise who has won 3 Super Bowls in the last 20 years, but they kind of, how do you want to say it? They went to the playoffs 6 of those 20 years? Or would you rather be like a Colts team in the last 20 years where they make the playoffs every single season, but they only have won 1 Super Bowl? So that's a question for you guys as well. So let's get to the comment box, FanDuel comment box, I should say. We got 18 Lockhart, yet again, the commenter of the Red Zone Blitz.
The unofficial.
The unofficial. He likes to call it the official. He's a Colts fan. He says I insulted his franchise, by the way. I did not insult your franchise because, real quick, I think Peyton Manning is probably the best quarterback to ever play the game. So he played for your Colts for pretty much his entire career. He won you guys a Super Bowl. I kind of had to. It wasn't an insulting comment. It was more like an example for the thing that me and Ezra were talking about at that point in time. So, New York Knicks fly high. Giants fan says one positive for his team today was the defense. Negative was Hakeem Nicks. I know Hakeem, I don't think has had a touchdown catch so far this season. I don't know why that would be a negative because I did watch the game. I guess I didn't really hear his name throughout the game today, but I didn't see him do too many things that would make me label him as a negative. 18 Lockhart, Colts fan there, says negative for his Colts this week was defending over the middle when it came to passes. So that's a defensive struggle there for the Colts. Wookie Collin, Lions fan, says positive for the Lions was the run defense. Negative was the special teams and too many miscues by Stafford today. And again, I put my 2 cents in on that negative for the Lions there. Any other comments that we can hit on? You see there, Ezra, at all? I don't know if you're looking at the comments right now.
Not for the main subject, but I have here Peyton Manning also lost to the Saints in the Super Bowl. And 18 Lockhart, like you said, he's a Colts fan, so he's going to defend his boy. He said it's a miracle Peyton even had that team in that Super Bowl. I think he was responding to Postman here. So yeah, that's what these guys are talking about that a little bit. Now I would like to, Wookie Collin, I would like to have a title, period, as a Lions fan. We're the joke of the NFL. It's sad. Not this year, Wookie, not this year. You guys are not the joke this year. You guys should be solid for a couple more years, man. Stafford and Calvin Johnson, and to give your Lions some credit here, I wrote on Facebook today because on Sundays I'm on the Facebook, the Twitter. Dude, at the top of their game, on top of their form. I'm talking about they're at their best. Calvin Johnson might be the guy I pick over anyone else in the history of wide receivers. Yes, that includes Jerry Rice, Randy Moss, Terrell Owens, whoever else you want to think of, you want to put in that conversation, Chris Carter, Torrey Holt, Marvin Harrison, whoever you want to put in. Calvin Johnson is just an animal. And I said this too. I know the stats today are inflated. There's different rules that help out the offense. Guys never used to throw for 5,000 yards, and we had a couple guys throw for 5,000 yards. What was it, 2 years ago, a year ago? And it seems like Drew Brees does it every year. It's just a different game. I understand that. But this guy has everything in his arsenal as a wide receiver. It's incredible to watch. I don't know how you feel about that. He's just. I'm not saying he's the greatest wide receiver. I'm just talking about because I put in consistency when I talk about the all-time greats, and Jerry Rice was consistent for I don't know 18 years. I don't know how many years how great he was. But if you had to pick one guy at top of their form, top of their game, I don't know. I might pick Calvin Johnson for that one game.
I think Calvin Johnson should be considered as one of the best, if not the best receiver of all time. I'm pretty sure he was bigger than Jerry Rice. It's kind of, you don't see 6'4" wide receivers. What is he, 230 pounds, running 4.3s? When you have that kind of speed, you have that kind of size. You have the jumps that he has, the vertical jumps where he can go up and get the ball in between defenders. His concentration,
his strength.
His strength is another attribute that he has. It's amazing. Route running is just everything about Calvin Johnson. I mean, I don't know if I want to say that by the end of his career you'd have to compare his numbers to Jerry Rice, because I don't know if he's going to have more or around or less. I don't know how it's going to look like, but part of that will be because of, like you said, inflation. I think by the end of his career, Calvin Johnson could be considered as the best receiver of all time, even over Jerry Rice. So,
well, he has a chance, yeah. But I think that's going to take a lot more for me to say he's the greatest. But I'm talking about top of their form, boom. I think I might have him. The one thing he is bad at is commercials. Okay? He has terrible commercials, David.
P. Diddy does his commercials.
Exactly. Why is he doing his commercials? He's so bad, he needs someone else to do his commercials for him. He's bad in Acura. Bad in the Acura commercials. These P. Diddy commercials are bad. Calvin Johnson, please work on your commercial.
He didn't even say a word in the Acura commercial. He just stood there.
He's got to step his game up in the commercial game. Terrible.
You know who's in the commercial game pretty deep, too? My boy A-Rod, man. He's all over the place in commercials.
He's pretty corny at commercials too.
I think so. I don't think he should be in commercials, to be honest.
He's pretty bad also.
I'm not a huge fan of
Aaron. The man
Aaron.
that's probably running the commercial game for football players, man.
That's got to be Peyton Manning, man.
Oh, Peyton Manning. Yeah, you're right, because he does a bunch of funny commercials. He did the football in your phone commercial. Peyton Manning's always doing something cool. So I'll give you that straight up. Peyton Manning, great on the field, great in commercials, great at tipping. Peyton Manning is the man, okay? He is the man. I bet you his wife is satisfied too.
You know what? I think one of my more favorite commercials that he did was with Eli on ESPN. There's a Sports Center one where they're walking behind their dad Archie, and they're kind of like walking around the offices. Yeah, and like they're just kind of like, I think Eli flicks his ear, and then Peyton kicks Eli, and they're just kind of doing that, things that little brothers would do, and then Archie looks back, and I'm like, yeah, cut that out. I thought it was pretty funny. I like that commercial.
Just show them as regulars, guys, and they do plenty of funny commercials. Another guy I was gonna say before you brought up Peyton Manning. You know, as your boy Matthews.
Clay?
Matthews.
Yeah,
The
Clay
linebacker for
Matthews.
your Packers.
Yeah.
He's got some cool commercials too, man. He's pretty funny. You know, he's got that one commercial they get show up straight up his face, and he's got like a mustache, he's got the beard and stuff like that, and he's got some cool commercials. But Calvin Johnson, he's terrible. Weak commercial game.
I don't think Calvin Johnson should be labeled as anything in his commercials, considering he doesn't say anything in his commercial. He just sits.
Even Miguel Gonzalez agrees with me, man. This thing is garbage.
We got more.
Oh man, did you get cut off?
Do we have more comments?
Oh no. Okay, we have some questions. That's what we got. We got no comments. We just got people laughing at the commercial slight segment I created for no reason, because that's just me. That's what I do. But I guess we can get to some commercials. I mean, questions. Excuse me. 18 Lockhart. He asks, can we give Pro Bowl consideration to Nick Foles now?
No. No. Yeah, he tied.
Yes.
Yes, he tied the record.
Yes. I'm gonna say yes.
He tied the record for the most touchdowns in a game. I was at the game where he threw for 3 against my Green Bay Packers, but they were fluky. He didn't throw for any touchdowns today. For last time I checked, I don't think he threw for any touchdowns today. He threw for about 300 yards. I know they went up 24-0 on the Redskins early. The Redskins tried to come back in that game. But I didn't watch the game. And as of late, yes, he's replacing Michael Vick, but you have to judge him off of the games that he's playing, and I can't put him in there right now. I'm going to put, how many quarter... Actually, you have to pick 6 quarterbacks, isn't it? Because there's a new Pro Bowl format.
I don't care about the new Pro Bowl format. So for me, I'm going to throw that out the window.
Okay.
Okay, because to me it's just... But he is... Let me see. He's 35th in the league in attempts in the whole NFL. 35th in the league. He is number 8. He's tied for 8th place in touchdowns. He has 16 touchdowns with 0 interceptions. He's got this team winning games. He's got this team leading the NFC East now. How could this man not deserve Pro Bowl consideration? He's rocking.
You know me.
He's made people forget about Cooper's, his little situation in the offseason.
His little situation where he said one word that everyone freaked out about, but then you got the whole thing down in Miami where a white guy uses the same word and nobody says nothing. Anyway, the thing I like about Foles is he's not turning the ball over, and that's huge. You don't turn the ball over, you don't give opportunities to the other team. That's what you want. So, yeah, that's nice. That's dandy. I really like that. But Pro Bowl, I don't know.
Okay, let's. How about this? We'll put it like this.
Listen, if you want to go to the Pro Bowl,
you said 3 QBs going to go in the NFC, right?
Quarterback. You have to be a top 6. Is he a top 6 quarterback to you?
Let's go to NFC. We need 3 NFC Pro Bowlers. Drew Brees is 1. I'm going to go with Peyton Manning. Tony Romo as the second one. I'm hitting myself because I deserve it.
Go Tony Romo.
Tony Romo. He's got some sick numbers. And who else? Matthew Stafford's the only other one that you can argue.
That's not a bad pick. That's not a bad pick. Let me take a look at some teams here. You got Cowboys, sure. Eli, no. Foles, we're talking about
Russell
Wilson,
right now. That's another guy you could bring up. The contenders
for
Pro Bowlers.
Cam Newton he's not doing too bad either.
I have Foles over Cam Newton right now. Easy.
Oh, jeez.
Easy.
Let me take a look at Cam's numbers. Look at Cam's numbers.
Look at Cam's numbers. Look at his numbers.
I'm gonna look at his numbers. You're gonna look at his numbers. I'm gonna look at his numbers.
Look at his numbers. With 13 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, but he's probably got a few
rushing touchdowns
and then rushing yards. But it's not like the Panthers' offense is smoking. All right.
Um, yeah, 1,970 yards, 13 touchdowns. Why is this mouse not letting
He's
me
got
move?
266 rushing yards with 4 touchdowns. So technically, he's got 17 touchdowns total. Nick Foles, he ran for a touchdown today, so I know he's got at least 17 touchdowns total himself.
Here's the other thing about Foles. How many games has he played so far this season?
Maybe 5.
Because wasn't Vic playing about, a handful of them
Let
or
me
a
get in this.
couple of
Let
them?
me get in this. He's played 7 games this year.
Seven.
I don't know if the 7 games started, but it says 7 games that he's played.
Nah, I don't think that means started.
It doesn't. I know.
It'll tell you. It should tell you.
I know where to check because I'm a gangster. That's what I do. Okay, give me a few seconds here. But Nick Foles, man, do you believe he deserves some consideration? I believe if 18 Lockhart wrote it, he believes it.
Okay. I mean, that's fine. If he believes it, that's fine. Right now, you have to be a top 3 quarterback in the NFC.
And I think he can make an argument that he is. After Breeze and Romo, I think the only other guy that can claim number 3 is Stafford and Russell Wilson.
Okay, so then put those guys in at 4 and 5.
No, because it's not clear cut. It's not clear cut. And he started 4 games. 4 games started this year. 4 games. He's 3-1. That's his record. 4 games started. Man.
All right. He's got some consideration, but he's not a top 3 quarterback in the NFC right now. I'm not gonna give him that label.
Clearly, top 3 consideration.
I don't like coming to a conclusion right away on young quarterbacks. I never came to a conclusion on Colin Kaepernick like almost everybody and their grandmothers did last year on Colin Kaepernick when he took his team to the Super Bowl. I did not do that. The guy at that point had not played a full season of football, and right now he has that team ranked 32nd in passing. What do you need to do in this league to be successful? You have to have a good passing quarterback. What is Colin Kaepernick not doing? Passing the ball. He's ranked 32nd. How many yards did he have today? How many yards did Kaepernick have today? 100? Seriously. So
this is a rant. You're going on.
No, because I don't like when people, when I sit there and I tell people, I'm not sold on Colin Kaepernick, they look at me crazy. Last year they looked at me crazy. Oh, well, he's leading the Niners, this and that. I'm like, that's fine.
I give you one stat, and this just should tell you this, okay? He started every game so far this year, right? Colin Kaepernick.
Okay.
He's got 9 touchdowns.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, but you know what? Your boy Alex Smith, who you give a lot of praise to, has the same amount of touchdowns. Just saying.
How many picks does Smith have?
He's got 4, and Colin Kaepernick's got 6.
Okay.
So I'm just saying.
Well, I'm just saying I never put Kaepernick in the conversation. I'm not putting Smith in the conversation for AFC quarterbacks.
You give Alex Smith a little too much love on this red zone blitz.
I did in the past, in the last couple episodes. Right now, Alex Smith is not throwing touchdowns.
He never throws touchdowns.
He's not.
I've been saying this for years. I like Alex Smith, but people need to relax. People talk about he would have been perfect for the Jets. No, I don't want no Alex Smith on my Jets.
127 yards today for Kaepernick. 91 last week against the Panthers. Get real, guys. Come on. Kaepernick he's not the guy that everyone thought he was going to be. I still don't think he's going to be that guy.
I think he just passed like a full season of starting games. He only started 10 games last year, right?
Yep.
So, he's still a young guy. He can progress, but he's not that. I think it was Jaws that called him, this guy he's one of the best QBs in the league. Once a guy has a hot start, they love this guy. They love people. Like RG3 last year, everyone was loving this man. Okay? Last year I was the skeptic on RG3. This year you're going after Colin Kaepernick. So
I think you have to be a skeptic when it comes to RG3's health at this point, but we got a lot of comments and a lot of feedback from the guys in the FanDuel comment
and
box.
before we get on that, you know who's the guy I did forget about the NFC, and I would like to apologize. He deserves to be
I already know.
Aaron Rodgers, but he got hurt, so.
No, that's not who I thought you were going to say.
Oh, who?
I thought you were going to say maybe Carson Palmer.
No. Carson Palmer, no. I like the Cardinals. I've been saying it all before the season started. I like the Cardinals. I like the Carson Palmer move, but no. Nick Foles or Carson Palmer, easy.
Before we get off the subject, let me take a look at Rodgers' numbers for the season. I know he's been hurt.
He's got 15 touchdowns, 4 interceptions.
Yeah. You can put him in the conversation, I guess, but I mean, he's missed time. And okay, I just need to stop talking about Nick Foles.
Yeah, because you're bad right now about this. You're wrong about this. Okay. Let's get into some questions.
New York Knicks Fly High says that he thinks Cam Newton should be considered in the conversation for NFC quarterbacks. 18 Lockhart says if you want to talk about fluky, look at Eli Manning the last 6 seasons. There might be a little bit of truth to that.
Well, I did mention in the last couple episodes on the Red Zone Blitz that Eli Manning's always been like a turnover machine.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just the way he plays. He's just a great. But this year, he's just been completely inconsistent. He's been consistently bad. That's why he's been consistently bad. The last couple years, I've said this before. Turnovers to me, in some ways, is overrated. And Eli Manning's always been a turnover machine, but his teams has always won games. He's a winning quarterback, plain and simple. Look at his. Forget about the Super Bowls. Just look at his records. Just look at his win and loss record. The man wins games. So
he had his best season of his career. The last season he won a Super Bowl. So, but Eli cannot. He's always turn. Can't talk, man. It's late. I'm tired. He can't turn the ball over, and that's what he keeps doing. So that's
just that's not going to change. That's just him. He's going to continue turning the ball over, but he's got to make a lot more smarter decisions. He's not doing it this year with those turnovers. We got a lot of questions we got to run through. Miguel Gonzalez, he asks, do you guys agree about Richard Sherman being the best cornerback in the NFL? I guess you said yes last time, right?
I'm gonna say yeah.
I was the guy that said still Darrelle Revis as of today, because the Buccaneers don't know how to use the man, the legend that is Darrelle Revis. I'm going to say Richard Sherman is the best QB. I mean, CB. I'm messing up all day. I'm just like you. We're both tired, but it's okay. We're going to run through this in the NFL. I think there's a couple, maybe Joe Harden that we spoke about earlier, deserves some consideration.
Hayden.
Oh yeah, I'm lost right now, man. I need a hug.
Man.
Anthony, give me a hug. I just called my roommate. I don't think he's gonna give me a hug, but still, yeah, I think he deserves that title now. From me, a lot of people believe that anyway. All right, what's another question we got here? Seahawks best team in the NFL right now? No.
No.
Yeah.
Who's your best team?
Right, I'm gonna go with. I don't care. I'm going with the Broncos. I don't care. I'm going with the Broncos. They got Peyton Manning. All right.
That's it? That's all you need to say?
That's all I need to say, kid. They got Peyton Manning.
That's what I'm gonna say too. I'm gonna say Broncos.
And you know what? The Chiefs showed a lot. You know, they slowed down that incredible offense. You know, they only scored 27 points. The Chiefs deserve to be in that conversation. Obviously, the Seahawks deserve to be in that conversation. But I'm gonna go with the Broncos. I'm gonna still go with the Broncos here.
I think that's gonna be. I mean, I picked the Broncos and I picked the Seahawks to be in the Super Bowl this year. And right now, it's looking like a pretty solid pick on my part. Except half the world probably made that same pick. So,
I mean,
uh,
if you think about it, the Seahawks beat two good teams, really good teams this year. They beat the Panthers, they beat the 49ers. After that, this is who they beat. They beat the Jaguars, Houston, Titans, Cardinals, which is a good team, but not a very good team. Rams, Buccaneers, Falcons, Minnesota.
yeah, I
But I
mean,
think you could probably say the same about the
I mean,
Broncos.
sometimes it's kind of interesting to see which teams win against other teams and which teams lose to some teams. You'll see the Colts. This is just an example. They'll beat teams like the Niners and the Seahawks, and then they'll lose to a team like the Jags. So does that mean the Jags are better than the Niners since the Colts beat them? You can never ever. You can't do. You can't. How do I want to say this? You can't evaluate teams that way based off of who they beat and who they lost to, and how it correlates with other teams and who they beat and who they lost to. So every week is a new week in the NFL. You just kind of really never know what to expect, and that's why I love the NFL and love watching football games. Um, the Panthers, you just mentioned the Panthers. I think they're a team to watch out for. They're kind of that dark horse in the NFC. That defense is nasty. Cam Newton needs to step his game up, though. Big time. Let's head to the FanDuel comment box. And I get an error. Fantastic. All right, here we go. The Postman says that the 49ers made Colin Kaepernick look better than what he really is. So Postman kind of sees eye to eye on the Colin Kaepernick talk that I just had. Foles, according to New York Knicks Fly High, he says Nick Foles played a bunch of bums, including the Bucks, the Raiders, and the Redskins, which is something to look into, I guess. Postman wants to know, is it better to go for the wild card bye or to play in the wild card round with the last three teams to win the Super Bowl who have played in the wild card round? Meaning, rephrasing that question, he says the last three teams to win the Super Bowl have played in the wild card rounds. They haven't had first round byes. So would you rather be rested up and play in the divisional round, or would you rather just kind of try and slip into the playoffs and hope for the best?
I would like to say it depends on the situation. If you have guys that's injured and they need that extra week to heal up for the game and such, But overall, in that sense, I think I might go that. I think you just want always to bye. I don't think we want to go over recent history and base it off of that. You can always go for the bye. You want that extra week. The only thing that I'm afraid of is when you take that, if you have the division wrapped up and you take week 17 off. That one is the one that bothers me a little more because that's essentially 2 weeks that you're going to be off before your next game, and that can make you a bit rusty. So that's the one that bothers me.
And when
If
the
you take
Packers
week 17 off and you have 2 weeks off.
when the Packers won 15-1 2 years ago, that's what they did in Week 17. They rested Aaron Rodgers. That's why Matt Flynn had such a big game against the Lions, threw for 6 touchdowns, and then got that big contract in the offseason. They rest Aaron Rodgers. They have a bye week. They're the number 1 seed in the NFC. They play the Giants in the divisional round. We all saw what happened in that game. So there might be something to back up your argument there. But I'm probably still gonna say, yeah, you want that first round bye. You want to be playing in the divisional round, just because it gives your team a chance to get a little bit more healthy. It rests your team up a little bit more, and when it comes to the odds, I guess, of winning games, healthier teams tend to win more games. So I understand it's only 1 week of getting healthy, but sometimes it helps. Um, you're also playing in a divisional round game, which means you're going to be playing at home field advantage. I've seen some statistics on it. Home field favors the home team by about 3%, so it's like I don't know. It's a very small margin, but still, when you want to crunch the numbers there is an advantage to playing at home. So in the playoffs, that's kind of a little bit more magnified. Um, so to answer your question again, I'm taking that first round bye. I'm playing the divisional round, even though the last 3 Super Bowl teams have gone on to play in the wild card and win the Super Bowl. So that's actually a bit interesting. That was a good question. Checking out the FanDuel comment box. I think we're going to go for maybe another question or two before we head out. Do you think Russell Wilson can take the Seahawks to the Super Bowl? We kind of hit on this. I think he can, but it's going to be based off of what the defense does, because that defense is nasty. So they're going to help keep points off the board there. 18 Lockhart asks, have you done any scouting yet? He's asking me. And also, if you mention Aaron Murray one more time, I'm going to flip out. Well, 18 Lockhart knows me a little bit too well. I've been watching a lot of the Red Zone Blitz. I haven't done scouting yet. I'm planning on doing scouting starting mid-December. So get your scouting questions ready to go. By the end of December, hopefully I'll start watching a lot of tape. As for Aaron Murray, I'm gonna have to watch tape on him as well as everyone else. New York Knicks flies high. We got a New York bandwagon, Ezra, and it's not your Jets. New York Knicks fly high says you gotta. He doesn't say you gotta. He says you better hop on the bandwagon because the Giants are gonna win, are going on another run. What do you gotta say about that, Ezra?
Well, I'm definitely I'm not jumping on the bandwagon unless I need a ride somewhere. But I'm no Giants hater. And the only run they're going for this year is a jog. I don't think they're going to make any run to the playoffs. They're jogging. That's about it. Okay, but not this year. Eli, he's not himself. I think it's something mental with him this year. I don't think there's anything physically wrong with him. I just don't think he's all there. I don't know if there's a personal problem at home or something that he's just not concentrating. He's just not the Eli Manning that I'm accustomed seeing every week. He's just if I'm a Giants fan, I know you guys are on a 4-game winning streak, and honestly, I don't know how, because Eli has been crap. I keep beating that horse, but I don't believe it. But I did say this team, it's amazing how they have a chance at the division.
I don't know how they have a chance at the division, but they still do. And again, this division for the last 5 years comes down to week 16, week 17, and a 9-7 team will win it, or maybe a 10-6 team will win it. It's not going to be a clear-cut 13-3 team that comes out of the NFC East. The topic of tonight, we're going to try and get a couple more comments for that down in the FanDuel comment box before we head out. How did your team do today? What was one positive and what was one negative that you guys took away from today's game for your team? You know, whoever you root for. Throw those comments down in the FanDuel comment box. We'll get to those in a couple more minutes before we head out. I know it's kind of late night show. And I think Ezra, we were talking about this before we hopped on the show. We're planning on possibly switching the day from Monday night after Monday Night Football to Sunday nights because Ezra has a little bit of a conflict in his work schedule.
Yeah, I'm causing trouble every week here on Red Zone Blitz. I'm surprised you haven't got fed up with me. So thank you, David, for your lovely patience. Okay, sir, and everyone else for their patience. But you know what? That means we could do a prediction for tomorrow night, right? If we do the show every Sunday night after Sunday Night Football, we could talk about football of that day. Talk about the immediate reaction to Sunday Night Football, which we didn't tonight, but next week we definitely should. We got to do a prediction on Monday tomorrow, man. I know you
All right.
gave out your predictions, but
No, that's the last subject for tonight before we head to the FanDuel comment box to see if anyone else threw down their comments for the question of the night. As for tomorrow night, you got are the Patriots playing in North Carolina?
they're playing in North Carolina. Petey Pablo's going to be in there waving the little. I don't know if you guys know who Petey Pablo is, but yeah, North Carolina.
That defense is definitely going to pose a lot of trouble, I think, for Tom Brady and that offense. They have a couple of interior linemen and on that defensive line that they just drafted this year in Star Lotulelei and Kawan Short, who are actually pretty solid right now, performing pretty well. You've got a stud at middle linebacker in Luke Kuechly. Some of those guys being the stars on that defense, and really just holding teams to not too many points. Every time they play, you'll see like a 12-9 game or a 20-16 game. Not high-scoring points or high-scoring games. But with Tom Brady and that Patriots offense, that is a team that is capable of putting up those kinds of points. So it's really going to come down to Tom Brady, how that offense excels against a very good Panthers defense, who I know last week I said, they're a top 10 defense. I'm going to say top 5 at least right now. That Panthers defense is looking like they can really cause some damage. It comes down to, for the Panthers, it comes down to how Cam Newton responds. How does he lead that offense to score points? So I'm going to pick the Patriots in this one. I'm going to say it's going to be a close game. I'm going to say, let's say 23-17, New England. That's who I'm taking.
I'm going with the Carolina Panthers because I mentioned Petey Pablo and no one knows him. And 2, the Patriots are due for a loss. And I want to give them some credit at the same time, even though I just picked them to lose. They're what, 8-2? What is their record right now? It's 7-2. No one's giving them credit that they are talking about they're one of the best teams in the NFL with that record. If this was anybody else, okay, because I know people are just numb to their quote-unquote greatness and used to their winning ways, they would have got a lot more credit. They're squeaking out games all year long. I know they were fighting everyone, and people we're talking about their receiving core, but they're 7-2. But I think this week, I think the Panthers defense show up once again in Cam Newton. I think he might be a little too fast for their linebacking core, and he'll have a big rushing day, maybe like 60 yards with maybe a touchdown. I like the Panthers in this one. I do, because that defense is legit. They're up there with the Chiefs, Jets defense. They might be better than the Jets defense, easy. I think I might pick the Carolina Panthers. This team is rocking, and it's just one of those years that a team that comes out of nowhere, you didn't expect to be this good. I think the Panthers will prove they're this good against the Patriots tomorrow night.
Yeah, and don't be surprised if the Panthers do win. This is a game where I think both teams can win this matchup. But I think it's going to come down to scoring points, and I like the Patriots offense a little bit more than Cam Newton's offense there in Carolina. So I'm going to say the Patriots are going to be able to score a few more points. They're going to have a few more opportunities to score points than the Carolina Panthers. So that's why I'm picking them to win. We haven't had a comment down in the FanDuel comment box regarding the question of the night, so we're going to end out on this question from Leroy Boss 15. Can we get a win or loss prediction for the rest of the way for my Chicago Bears? I got the Bears schedule pulled up here, so I think we'll get a prediction from Ezra and we'll get a prediction from me. Right now they're sitting at 6-4. Ezra, let's get your win to loss here. They're at 6-4 now. They got the Rams next week. Is that a win or a loss? They're playing in St. Louis.
That's a loss.
Okay.
That's a loss.
Right. Okay.
That's a loss.
At Minnesota.
They'll win that game. This is the one versus the Cowboys after Minnesota. That's the one I'm worried about. I don't know. It's December. Doesn't Tony Romo have a really good record in December, or is it a terrible record? It's one of those. I think he has a great record in December. Tony Romo. I forget what it was. I'm gonna say they're gonna be 9-7. I believe they're gonna lose to the Rams. They're gonna beat the Minnesota. I'm gonna say it now. Maybe they're gonna beat the Cowboys, lose to the Browns, beat the Eagles, lose to the Packers to end the year. So I'll say 9-7.
They've got 4 road games and 2 home games the rest of the way out. And I'm going to say they're playing the Rams next week in St. Louis. You know how I feel about the Rams, even before the year started. I'm gonna say they might lose to the Rams just because that Rams defense, I think, statistically right now, is a top 5 defense, believe it or not. At Minnesota, I'm gonna say they win that game. So what does that put them at this point? 6-4, 6-5, so 7-5 versus Dallas on ESPN. That's gonna be nasty. That's gonna be a close game right there. I don't know about this one, man. Like, I might have to flip a coin. Let's just say they win it. Let's say they win it. They go to Cleveland. That could be a game they lose just because it's one of those fluky games. I'll say they win that one. I say they lose in Philly and they lose against the Packers. So I'm giving them 3-2 for the rest of the way. So that's 9-7, isn't that? Or is that 10-6?
That would be 9-7. You have them 3-2? Yes. No, 3-2.
Well,
You're missing a game.
I am missing a game. I don't think I gave a prediction for the Rams game. I'm going to say they lose the Rams game. Believe it or not. If Jay Cutler, I don't know what his condition is like right now. Now, I'm saying 9-7, 10-6, this division is going to come down. I'm still going to say the Packers are in it. Just because if they can win the next game or two, Aaron Rodgers wins out, they'll finish at 10-6. The Bears have a shot at winning, a good portion of their games. They could finish around 10-6. The Lions could finish around 10-6. I'm really interested to see who wins this division, man. So I'm gonna say it's 9-7, 10-6 for the Bears. That's
You're interested, but you want your Packers to win this division.
Obviously, I want the Packers to win, but I'm being realistic here. Any 3 teams can win this division right now.
Yeah, that's true.
And the Lions, I think, are a little bit ahead of everyone else just because they've beaten the Bears twice, so they hold the tiebreaker there. If the Packers beat the Lions on Thanksgiving, they've beaten the Lions twice, or they would have been beating the Lions twice. It comes down to divisional record. So right now, I think the Lions are looking like the favorites at this current point in time. The Bears are behind them. The Packers are at 5-5. So that's an interesting division. We're wrapping up the Red Zone Blitz tonight. Appreciate everyone who's watching. Appreciate everyone who threw down some comments in the FanDuel comment box. New York Knicks Fly High says, great show, guys. We appreciate comments like that. That's awesome. 18 Lockhart, the official commenter of the Red Zone Blitz. Appreciate you being out here. He also prefers Sunday night for some input there, Ezra. I think we're changing that to Sunday night now for the Red Zone Blitz. Leroy Boss, Miguel Gonzalez,
Wookie Collin,
the Postman. We appreciate all you guys commenting. If we missed anyone, apologize. But we will be doing these Sunday nights now, right after Sunday Night Football. So don't forget, remember to tune in. But wrapping up on the Red Zone Blitz, Ezra, any last comments or thoughts?
Well, I apologize once again for inconvenience, but I think it's going to be better and more awesome. And 2, check out Idiot Sports Talk. I will be debuting a new NBA-style Red Zone Blitz, but NBA talk. As finally the season started and my schedule set it in, and it's time to talk about some sports and talk about your Knicks, New York.
All right, guys, we are out until the next Red Zone Blitz. That's Ezra. I'm Dave. Take care, guys.